assembling pots in sections. And a technique I've developed is kind of loosely based on Korean onji pots, where they put a big coil on, and I was never that coordinated, so I came up with another idea of throwing a bottomless cylinder and building up that way. You can use this for cylinder forms, you can use it for bowl forms, pretty much limited. And it gives you the option if you can only, it's more of a cylinder.
Is this one bottomless?
No. If you can only throw 2 or 3 pounds of clay, it gives you the option of making much bigger pots if you want to, with the idea that it's a lot easier to make a big ugly pot than it is a nice small pot. Dale Abrahams used to call this the big ugly pot assignment. So I've thrown this, just a basic cylinder, and timing is critical. You saw me with a torch, and I don't condone using those in class, as it violates just about every fire code we have. But we have hair dryers. Or you can just throw a piece, let it sit for a few days, and put the other one on. When I'm throwing my great big pots like this, they're done over a period of a few weeks. So I've thrown this, and I want to measure right here. And you see how I've got this groove. I'll show you about that in a minute. Take this off. These are both about 5 pounds of clay. Now this one goes back to what we've been doing, throwing a bottomless cylinder all the way down to the back.
What's your reason again for bringing the clay up and then bringing it down again and then up?
It helps me center it. I'm a lazy wedger, it also wedges the clay a little bit. I can always make this wider if I want to. I'm going to leave this maybe narrower than I want the finished piece.
How many pounds did you start with again?
About 5 pounds. Well, Linda Stager sent me an email asking me to ask if anybody had any notes from Peter Sanger's workshops. She lost hers. I'm making this top to fit down in that groove.
While you're talking about, there's someone who's going to do a brush making workshop down in Nelson County. If anyone's interested in Virginia Donster teaching it.
Okay. That's wider than I need it. Virginia's a former student here.
She was my first teacher.
What's her name? Virginia?
Donster, D-A-N-S-W-I-R.
And I'm pretty fussy with getting this to the right diameter. That's pretty close.
Now, at least I was watching yours go around, and the top isn't even. You worry about that?
Top's not even?
Yeah, no, it's going up and down.
Just a little.
10 maybe.
Yeah, you can do the rest of us.
Now it's
barely even.
Yeah, see, it's even now. See if we can't make the top more even.
We go up with the
That's my advice.
All right, so we're going to take this off.
It's just that I was worried about getting the top tipped, not being tipped to one side or the other.
Now, have you all explored kitchen tools enough to...
Mom got one of them picks from the 60s. For your hair.
score this. Get a little bit of water on it. Now, I haven't cut this.
Cool.
It's not gonna work that well.
Now we're drinking. Did you ever do it with the valley on the top piece going down?
I have done it that way too.
I've forgotten which way it goes, and I've done that.
This way goes better
Yeah,
because I can lift the wings up around.
okay.
I've done it the other one where I haven't been careful and left enough clay at the top. And the first thing I do is compress that seam. And then the next thing I do is come and pull this top thick area up. And I typically cut this because there's some unevenness. I don't want any unevenness. And then right away I'm thinking about my lip. And if this is going to be a big urn type of form, I want a nice heavy lip. And I'll make it heavier than I really want it because it's easier to make it thinner. And I'm going to get that clay up first. And when I do this in my studio, I typically put these together about to this stage, and then I let it set overnight, and that allows the slip down in here to absorb and everything even up. So we just say, it's been sitting overnight.
So you don't bother trying to smooth out that join until the next day or something.
Right. And the other thing is typically because this is clay that has dried quite a bit and started to shrink, and this is nice wet clay. Even though I will get the form just where I want it, after it evens up for a couple days, you're still going to get some variation. I have to come in and redo it anyway. But I'm very careful to throw up over the seam a couple times.
This would be a couple of days, after a day or two.
Right.
Do you ever bother spraying the bottom after you have this together?
Not really, because the pot always dries from the top down. And so this is still going to dry faster, and if you leave wet clay and dry clay covered up, is going to try to seek an equilibrium.
So you cover this up?
Oh yeah.
I think it needs a lid.
A lid?
With a round ball top.
Yeah.
Spout.
Third section.
You can put a lid on yours, Gary.
I think that probably would.
Now, if you wanted to make that into a lamp, you would squeeze in the top.
Funny you should
I
mention
make a
that,
lid.
Steve. Gary and I were just talking. I happen to have a number of lamp parts left over from our last lamp project. And the critical measurement is the vase cap. And the vase caps I have, I think, are 2.5 inches. So you could add another section come into 2.5 inches. So if anybody's interested in making a lamp and using lamp parts that I already have, talk to me about that.
You're reincarnated,
What?
You're reincarnated from back when they made all the pots. Don't take you no time.
Oh, it's giving me that. Excuse me.
What?
Good way to get out of the movie. You have an urn. Medium size urn. So that's your next assignment. So we'll look at your lidded pieces we're working on now next week. And then I'd like to try to add one or more sections together.
You have a limit on how high you want it?
Well, I don't think we should have a limit on how high, but we should have the understanding that the taller it is, the harder it is to fit in the kiln.
Just out of curiosity, what are you gonna do to the base? Are you going to keep that extended like that? Are you gonna cut it right to the,
I would probably cut that in quite a bit. I've been making the large urns in my studio with a little bit of the base that comes back out.
But this is, so if I was done with the piece,
Cut this extra clay off.
it's still gonna be
excuse me. But I like to leave that clay on there when I'm throwing because it gives me more stability. Probably something like that. So let's see what you can do.
design line, you have a rolling line on top, how about the bottom? Right above.
I don't know if I would do that or not. Normally I have a few days to think about this. Typically what I do is I like a transition here, and maybe on the bottom I might have
That looks really
a
awesome.
couple little
Tom.
lines like that.
That's yours, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Tom.
And is
It's really awesome.
soft enough
Okay.
to still have
Better
It looked like it was soft enough you were able to.
I can move it. I'm not sure if it's soft enough to get a really
You're trying to
good
figure out whether to put
impression.
handles on it? Does it need them?